What's up, Vex heads, and welcome to this ad. Sorry, it's not the episode starting early, but I wanted to take a chance to talk to you guys about ExpressVPN right up the top here. ExpressVPN is a virtual private network, which if you don't know anything about those, it's something that allows you to kind of hide your IP address while you're online, which opens up a lot of doors for you, including you can watch Netflix, Hulu, whatever, in different countries, or, pretend you're in different countries. You can download torrents of data over this thing, if you will, wink wink. And honestly, if you are like me and you just don't really like the thought of your internet service provider looking at everything that you do online, this is for you. So I'm going to keep it short, but if you guys would, go to expressvpn.com/inchaoswetrust. I know, as I always say, that's my old show, but the link is still live, and it will help the new show out if a few people subscribe to this. So go to expressvpn.com/inchaoswetrust for 3 months free when you sign up for 12 months. And with that, let's get on into the show.
We've got flags and banners, and if you mind your manners, we might even get to standards and what they represent. So just take my voice's hand and we'll both try to understand how this Vexillology podcast could be flagged for content. Flagged for content.
What's up, Vex heads, and welcome to episode 6 of Flagged for Content. It is the only podcast that is recorded totally live with no editing tricks ever. And we've got an exciting episode for you this week, as usual. But first, just to get a couple housekeeping things out of the way. As most of you know, we do a contest on our Instagram that is at flagged4content. Between every episode, and it's basically just whoever guesses this flag from my collection gets a shout out at the top of the show. This week that ended up being at Spooky Dice Bag, which you may recognize as one of the usual sponsors of this show. The DM of which, Kikassatron, was the guest on episode 3, I believe. So yeah, go give at Spooky Dice Bag a follow, not just on Instagram, but on Twitter, and go check out their podcast. I will be on it voicing a character eventually. They are banking a lot of episodes, but, I'm assured that my day in the sun will come. Other than that, I don't think we have a whole lot to really get into up the top here, other than to plug our website, which is flagged.rocks. That's FLAGGED.ROCKS. Go there for all of our links and everything like that. The top link on that right now is a link for a GoFundMe for a podcast host of another podcast that I would love to get on this show and who is just in need of a little bit of help right now. So go to our website. You'll see that link. You'll see all of our social medias, all that stuff. And I think that's pretty much it. Other than I did want to say that we are going over some very ugly flags today. That is the topic. I'm sure you probably read that when you clicked in. And I just wanted to make a note up top that obviously our commentary on these flags is not a commentary on any of the countries or the peoples in those countries. But, it's nice to kind of unwind and let loose on some pretty terrible flags, especially in these dark times. So just wanted to get that out there. And yeah, let's get into it. We have got a great guest for you guys this week. You know him from real life. You may know him from the Discord server. I know him for criticizing my Portuguese accent. It's Doug Wells!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad to be here.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Life keeps going on, so I got that going for me.
Doug Wells is doing well. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm doing Wells.
Yeah, right on, man.
It's a family joke.
A good one. I was just going to ask, what are you drinking there? I see you got something in your hand.
Yeah, so of course, as an avid listener, and fan of the show, I know that the Hutton and Smith Igneous IPA is the drink of choice. So I actually haven't been drinking much recently, but I saved one Hutton and Smith Igneous just for this podcast. So you're welcome.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. It's the somewhat, well, I guess, yeah, entirely unofficial beer of this podcast. But if anyone from Hutton and Smith is listening here in Chattanooga and you want to sponsor us, my DMs are open, so hit me up.
What you need to do is just drive outside of Hutton and Smith and play this episode on your speakers and just blast it so they can hear it. They'll be like, oh yeah, Hutton and Smith Igneous. Yeah, we got to get on this.
That'd be such a weird thing to blast from a moving car, like a podcast. Like, not just this podcast, any podcast.
Yeah.
You're used to people, like, especially like around that part of town, just like driving down the street, blasting music and stuff. But yeah, they would definitely look twice at someone blasting a podcast. They just think someone was yelling.
Yeah, I definitely listen to podcasts probably louder than I should in my car. And every time I drive up to like a drive-through or the guard check at work or something, I'm always like, oh, let me turn this down. I don't want to be the weird guy listening to a podcast, so I guess I'm just listening to silence.
Yeah. Don't want to be the weird guy listening to a podcast about flags? What?
Yeah, who does that?
Anyway. Yeah, so you know what else I realized? So Doug and I are recording on what is usually our D&D night, but we kind of had a few people out of town this week and scrapped that for next week and stuff. But I realized once I booked you as a guest that I will, now have had on all three of my DMs from various games. Doug is, in addition to, I could have put that in the intro too, but Doug is also the DM for my longest running D&D game. And then Kickass from episode 3 hosts Spooky Dice Bag, and I'm on that coming up. And Ian from episode 2 does, it's not a podcast, but he has been our DM in Morkborg, which is like a black metal inspired apocalyptic D&D-ish. Have you heard of that one?
No, that sounds fun. That sounds weird, but interesting. You are missing one DM, though.
That's true. I was going to say, I guess JD would take offense to that, but you're
that's
the
not
DM.
even who I was thinking of. I was thinking of a different game. The one that you ruined and then quit shortly thereafter.
The one that my character ruined and quit shortly thereafter.
I'll take that.
I'll have him on at some point if he's interested.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough with the bullshit. This is too many pleasantries. We got some flags to talk about and a short amount of time to do it in. So, as you said, as an avid listener, you know the format of the show. So the first flag that I give you is one that I am just going to describe to you, and I want you to guess what it is. I'll probably need to give you a hint or two on this one. And then I'll show it to you, and then we'll go from there down what is sure to be a rabbit hole this week.
All right, I'm excited.
Hell yeah, man. It's been a while in coming, and I'm excited to have you on. This first one that we're going to talk about can be described as thus: a green field.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh man, I was waiting for something else. Okay.
Yep. So I will give you a hint, like right off the bat, so you're not just guessing around. This does still exist as a country. This country does. They have since changed their flag in 2011, which may be another hint.
Well, that ruins everything I was thinking, because I was going to guess some sort of racing flag, but...
Oh, yeah, true.
I don't know. Madagascar?
You're on the right continent. It is the flag of Libya from 1977 to 2011, when Gaddafi was overthrown. And yeah, like you said, you could be forgiven for thinking it's a racing flag, and in fact... I know they have a green flag, yellow flag, red flag, checkered flag. Like this is a racing flag for all intents and purposes. It's just like a slightly different shade of green. And I don't know why, but I'll send it to you now. You're not going to like glean much from this, but
oh wow.
There you go.
Green.
That's it. That's breathtaking, right?
Wow, that is super breathtaking.
Mm-hmm. So, if you couldn't guess, well, the listeners probably already know from the title and description, but you don't. Today, we are going to be talking about the worst flags in the world.
Oh boy, I love it. I love bad flags.
Yeah, it's a broad category. There are a lot of very good contenders for that top spot. And it's also a category that you brought up in our Discord, which, again, as I mentioned in the intro, come join our Discord and talk about what flags you'd like to see. Yes. But, yeah, you brought up not this one specifically, but just having the worst flags as a topic. And I was like, well, shit, Doug brought it up.
Yeah.
I was going to do a different topic, but I was like, no, Doug brought this up. We're doing this today.
Oh, I'm excited. I love bad flags.
Oh,
It's weird, though, because I feel like you can... It's very opinion-driven, right? Like, and I don't know what flags you're going to go through, so maybe I'll ruin your podcast. But like I've seen some where it's like the UK flag and the US flag because they're just terrible. And I looked at them and I was like, yeah, I could see that. Like they're really busy. I like them because I'm used to them. But like, especially when you talk about like the fembriation of the UK flag, I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of stupid to fembriate white with white.
Yeah, damn, you are an avid listener. Fembriation, good on you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know you love a bad flag. You even threw in some examples, one or two of which we may talk about today. But I wanted to kind of like take a little journey today, not just through the bad flags, but through them in an order of complication. Complicatedness, I know that's not a word, but just bad flags. We'll start with this one that's all green. It's not terrible. There's no huge design flaws. There's not words all over it, nothing like that. But it's very boring. It doesn't really tell a story of a country. It doesn't really tell you much of anything.
It'd be a good flag for like Ireland, maybe. Because, I mean, I guess when I think green, I think of Ireland. But, I mean, even then, it's not conventionally bad. It's not like the examples that I've seen where... Like you said, there's all kind of crazy designs that I'm like, why? Like, why would you do this on a flag? It's just stupid. It's just, like you said, I look at it and my first thought still is, okay, like, is this go flag? I don't watch NASCAR or Indy racing or whatever, but I assume green means go.
Yeah. I thought you were just going to leave it at, when I look at this flag, I just say, okay, which is about how I feel about it.
Yeah, I could have stopped there.
All right, it's a flag. I think the first time that I ever experienced this flag in any, well, I guess like in media or in pop culture or whatever, was playing Red Alert 2. Did you ever play that?
I
or
did.
Any of the Command and Conquer games?
I played a lot of the Command and Conquer games. I never got to Red Alert 2, but I played the original Command and Conquer. Tiberian Sun was my jam because it was like sci-fi-ish, and then the original Red Alert. I never got to Red Alert 2. I think I have it and just never loaded it up, but so I don't remember this flag from that. But I can definitely see, if I saw this flag in a video game, my first thought was, wow, the developers were really slacking that day.
Yep. Yeah, for whatever reason, the devs decided that like they have like the allied countries, which is like the UK, US, France, the South Korea, and like other ones that you would think of. And then for the Soviets, they went with, I think, obviously Russia or USSR. And then Cuba, I think Iraq for whatever reason, and then Libya. And yeah, when you play any of the levels in Libya, they're just like these like flagpoles around with just a green flag flying on it. And I was like, okay, I have to know more. So as a young flag nerd, I Googled this, looked it up, and I was like, there's no way it's just that. Like, again, like you said, like, it seems like the devs were just lazy or something, but nope, they got it right.
Or someone forgot to load the picture art onto the CD.
Yeah, right.
Because that was back when CDs, or I don't know, I think when Red Alert came out, still all the games were on CDs. It's like, it's crunch time, load all the art in. Oh, we forgot Libya. Screw it. Just green. That's the default.
Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, there's not too much to say on this flag. It's, Gaddafi rode to power as part of, like, I think it was called the Green Revolution, or Green Resistance, which was just his party. I think he had, like, a book that was green, that all this, like, everything was just green. It was his favorite color. It's also, like, has ties to, like, Islam and things, and he decided when they were designing the flag that he was just going to put that up because he was like, well, we're the Green Party. They're not called that, but like our party is green and it's a unitary, it's the only party that's like allowed to operate in Libya. So the flag is going to be the same color as the party, and that's it. And I don't want to hear anything else about it. So they just left it.
It's on the nose then.
Yeah.
I mean, he nailed it.
It's definitely on the nose. And I mean, I don't really have too much else to say about this one. They did change it in 2011. Just for your reference, we don't have to describe it in here, but I sent it in the chat. It's It's a lot better now. It's not my
Yeah.
favorite, but it incorporates the Islamic crescent moon and star in the middle and a black stripe that's, I think, about 2/3. And then there's a red, well, a little more than 2/3.
50%. I'd say about half.
Yeah, probably about half. And then a red stripe that's 25% on the top and a green that's 25 on the bottom. And that's pretty much it. But we will move on from Libya. And again, we are going in order of complicatedness, which is what I have decided apparently to call this. So
And I think we've talked more about the Libyan flag than they did when they were designing it. So give them a lot of credit.
Dude, honestly, yeah, it seems like probably a lot more thought went into those 5+ minutes. I'm going to send you the next one in our chat. And if you could, go ahead and describe it to the listener for us.
All right, this is going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it is a rectangle, as most flags are, not all, with the top half red, sort of a bright red, from at least on my monitor, and the bottom half is white.
Yep, and that's it. Not much more to say about that one. Nothing else to say about that one as far as design-wise. Would you have any venture a guess on this one?
Okay, so I actually might know this one.
Okay.
It's one of 3 countries,
Mm.
and I can't remember which one it is. Poland is one, and I forget what the other 2 are, so I'm going to guess Poland.
This is actually not the flag of Poland, but I could have included that on this list. It's the same color as Poland is this, but flipped. The red is on the bottom. It is the same as Monaco, although the red is different, which I assume is one of the other 2 you were thinking of.
Yep. I knew there was Poland and 2 that were inverted.
Mm-hmm. I think Monaco and Poland have maybe even the same red. It's darker than this one. Like you said, this one's like a little more bold or whatever.
It's like theirs is like maroon, maybe. Am I thinking of that right?
Yeah, it's not quite maroon, but it's definitely a darker red. And this one, yeah, is a little brighter, and the red's on top. It's the exact same as, yeah, like you said, it's the exact same as Poland flipped, or the exact same as Monaco, just with a slightly different red.
Is this Qatar?
This is not Qatar.
Oh, man. Okay, I don't remember then.
This is Indonesia. And I almost feel bad picking on them because, like you said, the Monaco flag, the Polish flag, those are pretty much the same damn thing. But there's something cool about this one that makes it pretty unique that we will go over in just a few moments. It's not, well, how do you find this flag, like, aesthetically?
I mean, it's kind of going off the first one. Like, I wouldn't say it's an awful flag. I'm not going to look at it and be like, wow, that flag's terrible. It's just plain and boring. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, is it really that much different from, like, the dozens of flags that are the tricolor? You know, like, I could name Germany, Colombia, France, Ireland, you know, I could keep going, that are all 3 colors. They're just like, oh, well, we'll just cut it down a little bit, just go with the 2.
Yeah, it's uninspired, I guess. In the similar way to the Libyan one, we went from 1 color to 2. And not that, like, there are awesome flags that have just 2 colors on them. But, you know, doing a top stripe and a bottom stripe, it's not quite it, to me. So there is a somewhat interesting story to this one. Somewhat. It was adopted in 1945, so fairly recently, after the Monaco and Poland ones were. But 1945 you may recognize as kind of a key year in 20th century history. The Indonesians, for their part, had just shaken off Dutch colonialism. And do you know anything about the Dutch flag? We haven't covered it on here, so I assume you don't.
Isn't theirs a red, white, and blue? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the red is more similar to what I'm thinking of the Polish flag being. And then white in the middle, red on the top, white in the middle, blue on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the stories is that when they threw off the yoke of Dutch colonialism, they tore off the blue stripe from the bottom of the Dutch flag and were left with a red top, white now bottom of their flag. The only problem with that story is that they claim that this flag, the just red and white one, comes from the 13th century, the Majapahit Empire. So these colors, the red and white, have been associated with Indonesia, or at least with various islands that make up Indonesia, for quite a while now. And they used to have one that looks like what I just sent you, which is basically, I think it's 9 stripes in total, 5 red, 4 white. And it's not super interesting, but it's a little bit more interesting in that the stripes are kind of broken up more, and so is the monotony.
I have to say, I like the new one better than that. So this flag, to me, looks like if you just took the top, or like took a rectangle off the U.S. flag and just cut it off. But it just, I mean, just looking at it, maybe it's just the computer screen, but it almost looks like one of those optical illusion pictures where like it's hard to concentrate on what it is. Like at least the red and white one is like, okay, it's clear. I see what it is. I got what's going on here.
True, fair enough. But yeah, no, so there's kind of like different stories of it. Like I said, the red and white, even the one that you like better, which I might too. I don't know. I'm on the fence about them. Those colors go back for quite a while. So the ripping the blue off the Dutch flag, I don't know if I necessarily buy that as the quote-unquote origin, because this modern red and white one, again, the 2 stripes, was first flown in Java in 1928, which you may recognize as before 1945.
Wait, let me do the math. I got a calculator here. Yep, that's right.
Yep. Tech school will do that for you. And so yeah, anyway, it was flown in Java in 1928. The Dutch banned, like prohibited flying it because, you know, like if you're a colonial power, you're going to do everything you can in your power to stamp out opposition, stamp out like nationalism or anti-colonialism. And so it originally comes from there. And then so the story about the Dutch flag in 1945 is a little bit, it's not quite apocryphal because there are pictures of them actually doing that thing. So it may be more the case of they already had this flag that was banned and they looked up and saw the Dutch flag and they were like, hey, if we just did this one little thing here, we could actually, instead of sewing a whole new flag, nobody's got one on them. So let's just go do this instead, and ripped off the blue stripe. So that is a thing that happened. It's just not quite the origin story that they claim sometimes.
I could definitely see that. I mean, I'd have questions about, like I said, the color. The color doesn't match, but over time, I'm sure they originally had red and white, and they were like, hey, let's narrow down the Pantone for exactly what this should be, and decided that they didn't want to be the same as Poland and Monaco. So they're like, okay, let's go a little different.
Yeah, and interestingly, like Singapore, which is like city-state, basically, that's on one of their islands, Java, I guess, it has the same flag, but it has like a crescent moon and some stars up in the canton, which listeners will know where that is. And so it's like, it's at least like, it's different enough to me that I can recognize it and kind of like respect to be like, okay, you guys like at least went your own way. Obviously, they're going to have the same historical colors as a lot of like Java and the rest of Indonesia, just by virtue of shared history and everything. But they actually did something with it, something a little bit more interesting. Another really interesting thing, and part of the reason that I picked Indonesia instead of Poland or Monaco, was this flag that I'm sending you now.
Huh.
It's not an official flag, but it is a practice flag used in place of the national flag during rehearsals. So I don't know, and I'm speaking out of turn. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say why. That's not really adding to the conversation, but
no, it's not. I just found this really interesting because it's when they have like flag raising ceremonies, especially with like a lot of flags, like say you have like a whole row of flags leading up to some monument or something. They do practice runs of raising the flag, I guess like in unison or something. So, you know, pull, all that. And they use this flag that I just sent you as a practice flag for raising the real one. The question that I have being the obvious one of why can't they just practice with the real one? But there may be something that I haven't found in their flag code that, you know, sheds light on that. I couldn't find anything other than just they're one of the only ones that I know that have this kind of tradition.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I guess it must be maybe a respect thing, just like we have rules about the U.S. flag and what it can and can't do, even though most people leave their flag out all night. You're not supposed to leave it out after dark and stuff like that. It could be something like that. I'll also say, just for the listener's sake, since we didn't describe it, the last flag he posted, the practice flag, is yellow on the top, green on the bottom, and through the middle in white is a word that I'm going to butcher because I don't speak Indonesian. I'm gonna guess that's what they speak there. You, as a linguistics major, correct me, please. But it says Latihan, Latihan, Latihan.
I have no idea how to pronounce this. I think they speak Javanese.
Javanese. That's a cool name for a language.
Is that right? I didn't answer immediately because I wasn't sure, and I'm a little more than embarrassed about that. I know they speak some Javanese. I don't know if that's the majority. Anyway, not important. Editor's note, it is important. They do speak Indonesian, and they also speak Javanese. We were both right, but Doug was more right. Indonesian is the national language, Javanese is the most spoken indigenous language, and is co-official in one special region. And with that update from Andy's Language Corner, where I am sitting with my imaginary dunce hat on, let's get back to the show. Latahan, or however you pronounce it, means practice in that language.
I was going to ask that, actually. I was wondering if it was like, okay, it's just so you know right away, this is a practice flag.
Mm-hmm.
But why wouldn't they just put practice on a flag with regular colors? Why'd they have to go with a whole different color scheme?
See, that's the thing I wanted to ask you about, or talk to you about. Like, I don't know. Just put the word practice in black on a white flag or something and call it a day. And I could also see if it were like a color swap, like how you can do like negative colors of whatever.
Yeah.
But then in that case, the bottom would be black because opposite of white, and the top would be like cyan or whatever. And I really don't know why they went yellow and green, and I couldn't find that much on it. There's a Reddit post on it, and it has 2 comments, neither of which of them shed any light on this. And I couldn't find it anywhere else, so I'm honestly at a loss. I just thought it was interesting enough to mention because I can't find, or I at least haven't been over another country that does anything similar. But like you said, you're probably right in that it's a respect adjacent thing. Like maybe the Indonesian one itself can't touch the ground, but sometimes these ones do, and things like that.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I couldn't find too much more on it. But anyway, that is the flag of Indonesia.
So I did just want to add, kind of circling back to the original flag. It's funny because when you first posted that flag, one of my first thoughts was it looks like a semaphore flag, like for boats. I was like, it looks like one of those flags you'd use to signal other boats, and Indonesia being, mostly island nation. I was like, that kind of fits. I'm sure it has nothing to do with it, but that's where my, monkey brain went, or whatever you call it. I'm just like, that I could see that. The first one was racing, which I don't understand what that has to do with Libya, but at least semaphore, I can connect the dots.
I never really thought about that, or in those terms. But yeah, the semaphore flags are something else. I almost named this podcast something to do with semaphores, but I forget what it was. But then I was like, I don't actually know anything about that, so we're gonna use explicit language. I'm gonna call it this. But I guess a lot of semaphore flags are bicolors, though. It's just with different colors and different patterns. Like a lot of them will have like a bend or whatever, like a diagonal line. Some have like a square in the middle and like a huge border. Some probably look a lot like this. And yeah, there's so many flags just throughout history that do come from naval designs. And part of the reason that you put, like Singapore, like we were talking about, part of the reason that they put things, not Singapore specifically, but countries with flags in general, the reason they put things in the canton is because think about a flag laying with no wind. The canton is the part that you can see the most often anyway. It's not a guarantee that you can see that, depending on which way it's kind of laying or whatever, but that's why they put it up there. So if Singapore and Indonesia have, military ships that are kind of operating in the same waters, which I don't know that they do. I'm not sure if Singapore has a military or not, or a navy, I should say. But that's why they put things up there to distinguish like Singapore from Indonesia in this case. If you can make out those little white stars and the white crescent moon. But
that's pretty smart. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. That's the guarantee. You're not going to learn too much, but you'll learn just enough where you can hold like somewhat of a conversation about some flags. That is our guarantee. So we're going to move from we had I don't even know what to call it, monocolor, because there are no other flags in the world like that, national ones, to a bicolor. Actually, this one that we're going to go to is another bicolor, just in a little different format. So I went ahead and sent that to you. Go ahead and describe that, if you will.
So this is a red flag. I'd describe it as maybe a crimson or a little darker red flag with a dark green star, but it's not like a full star. It's like one of those stars that you learn how to draw as a kid where you just connect the dots. I guess sort of like a pentagraph without the circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I've seen this in my research of ugly flags, because as I told you, I like ugly flags. I could not tell you what it is. I could tell you also that the color scheme is atrocious. I don't know if my description does it justice, but this dark green with this dark red, like, it hurts my eyes just to look at it.
I know I say this a lot on the show, but I could not have said that better. Like, the thing that I was getting to, and a lot of the reason why this flag is so terrible, in my opinion, is the color scheme. Because you have other flags like you described it perfectly. Yeah, it's like green pentagram, right side up, not like satanic, in the middle of what is called anyway a bright red field. I agree with you that it's a little more on the crimson-y kind of side of things, but yeah, it's just what I was going to say is, like, you have flags like Vietnam, where Vietnam has a little bit more of a bolder red background and then a yellow star, because yellow really pops on red. Mm-hmm. Green does not, especially if you're not even going to do the entire star. You're just going to, like you said, do what we learned in elementary school ones. So this is, I realized that I forgot to say what it is, but this is the flag of Morocco and has been since 1915. The green star is supposed to represent the 5 pillars of Islam. Like I said earlier, I know green is a important color in Islam, which I assume is part of why they use that color. Red has like a lot of importance in Morocco from some of their dynasties, things like that. But that still offers you the solution to do a red star on a green background, which is going to stand out way more, especially if you fill in that star then. I'm not saying I would love that design, but more than this.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it would have popped more. Or use a brighter red and a brighter green, or some combination that's not two really dark shades of these colors. Like, one of them being bright, one of them being dark, maybe I'd be like, okay, I can see it a little bit more, get some contrast going. But this is like, I mean, you described the Libyan flag like, oh, I love green. This is like the dictator of the country was like, oh yeah, it'll look like this, and he just drew a shitty star on a piece of paper and said, yeah, just make it red and green, and they picked the first 2 red and green dyes they found, which didn't work.
Not at all, not to me. And yeah, to your point of you could even outline it in white or something to a point. Like, the white would obviously stand out on this red, or most reds really, but they elected not to. And it's, I don't know. I don't have a whole ton to say on it. I know I keep saying that for these flags, but they're pretty simple. The things that I will say is, like, imagine that you're red-green colorblind and you're looking at this. You're not going to see shit.
No, it's just a blob.
And that's a larger percent of the population than people think as well. Especially when they're directly overlaid on top of each other like that. And from afar, you're not even going to see the green, like, at all.
No.
Without, like you said, like some kind of outline or something like that. So, I mean, as far as the symbolism, I get what they were going for, the 5 pillars, the green color. Red is historically Moroccan. I think a lot of their flags were just red historically, which, if we want to talk about monocolor flags, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't really do it for me. This one is so weird to me because I want to like it, and I just don't.
Yeah, I just feel like we need to move on, only because this picture on my screen keeps making me go cross-eyed. Like, I'm trying to focus on it, and it's blurry. Like, the picture is fine, but it just looks blurry because the colors are terrible. I cannot state enough how much I hate this color scheme. Any other color scheme would have worked better, and I would have said this flag is okay. Not great, but okay. Fill in the star, make it white. You've got a respectable looking flag for a lot of countries. Or yellow, you got a nice former Soviet or communist country. But
Well, the current Vietnamese one is just the yellow star in the middle, yeah.
there you go. See, it would have worked.
Yeah, like you said. Okay, yeah. No, I like that idea. Make the star in the middle white, then outline it in a green. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a green. You're not going to see it from far away, probably, the green, but up close, sure. And then you can still claim basically the same thing that they claim now as far as the representation of this, that, and the other. Yeah, visually very unappealing to me. So yeah, we'll get it off your screen. Also, we'll have in the show notes a GoFundMe for Doug to get some new monitors that don't do that, don't dance around on him. So, if you guys can, just, spare whatever you can. So.
Oh, I got my fancy gaming glasses. That helps a little bit. Gives it a little more contrast.
Actually, yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize my glasses have like that blue blocker or whatever on them. So if I take them off, well, then I just can't see it because I'm not wearing glasses. Experiment successful. I forgot I need these to generally see. All right, but we will move on to the next one. And there we go. Would you please describe this piece of shit?
This is okay. Well, the flag is green, and then on the, and you're gonna have to help me here because last episode you guys called it the flap side, and I thought it was called the flag side. But on
it's the fly side officially.
Fly side. Okay. Well, on the fly side, on the fly side third, in the top third of that, so in the top right ninth of the flag, there is a, I would say, decently drawn bird, some sort of raptor and maybe an eagle. I don't really know. It's not the best picture. It's not terrible. And then in the bottom 2/3 of that right third side, there is 1/3 of that going vertically is red, the middle third is black, and the right third or fly side third is yellow. So
yeah, it's more of, well, I see it as more of an orange.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I guess it is. It's a like between yellow and orange, I guess I would say. I keep picturing it as like the German flag, but not. And so that's why I said yellow. I'm like, maybe there was some German influence, and I don't know what country this is. You're gonna have to help me there. But that was my first connection. Is like, oh, maybe it's like the flags that have the Union Jack and the canton, except they were like, screw the canton. We're just gonna go for the complete opposite side.
Yeah. So this is the flag of the Republic of Zambia in southern central Africa. I think this was part of British Africa. Let me make sure. Yeah, this was part of British Africa. Yeah, like you said, there's nothing in the canton, and there really should be. Because like I said, so they're a landlocked country, right? So they're probably not going to have a huge navy that's out exploring, roaming the seas, all that shit. But still, the reason that you have things in the canton is so they can be seen even when a flag on land is, not fluttering in the wind. It's just sitting there. This, depending on the angle, is going to look like the old Libyan flag.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if it's like at such an angle where you can't see any of the design, maybe it's wrapped around on the other side or whatever, it's just going to look like a green flag. It's baffling to me why I don't mind. I don't love it even in its best version that I'm kind of piecing together in my head right now. But I still, I don't know. This one's frustrating to me. This one makes me like, you know how they say like ghosts, like people that see ghosts, hear ghosts, whatever. Like a lot of it's like pipes vibrating and making you uneasy and things like that, like electrical things, plumbing things, stuff vibrating at certain frequencies. This vibrates at a certain frequency to me that just makes me uneasy. Like you in the Morocco one, kind of.
Yeah, I can see that. It reminds me of like, so they say, and I'm scared to say this now because it's probably going to come up with more flags coming if you're going to pick some of the ones that I've seen. But they say that a flag should be designed such that an elementary school student can easily draw it. This looks like they got all the elementary school students together and then had all of them draw a random flag and then picked the worst one.
It does look a little bit like that. And I also, know what you're hinting at as far as what we may be covering later. And let me just tell you, we are going to cover a couple of this.
Oh man.
Yeah, so get ready. But yeah, the Zambia flag to me is, it's not, I don't know, it's not good. If I were to redo it, well, first off, let me say what it stands for, because I've been bad about that in the past, and I know people don't necessarily get all their flag information from this show by any means. But as far as the symbolism goes, it's supposed to be that the symbolism is that the green stands for the nation's lush flora. Sure, you see that a lot. Red for the nation's struggle for freedom. You see that a lot. Black for the Zambian people. That's very common in African flags. And orange for the land's natural resources and mineral wealth, of which an abundant one is copper, from what I understand. So hence the kind of orange tone.
Okay.
And the eagle is, the people's ability to rise above the nation's problems, which it usually is on a flag. Unless it's like a double-headed eagle that we talked about last week, and then it's imperial and a whole different thing. But I don't know. Tell me what you think. But like, I could see a way to redesign this where you kind of flip the vertical stripes that are down here. You flip them that way, put them on the canton, and then maybe you either lose the eagle altogether or you put him in the middle or maybe even the bottom right. I don't know that I love that either, though.
See, I just think
I want to help.
I'm going to go back to, and I know that this isn't the influence, but it looks like a bastardized German flag that they stuck on there. Like they took the bottom stripe off the German flag, put it on the top, and then just flipped it sideways. But also, if you're going to represent those colors, like why is the flora 80% of the flag? Like why not equalize them? It's not going to be a great flag if you've got 4 stripes.
No, it won't be.
But at least it'll be maybe more representative. Why is your struggle and your people way less important than all of the flora?
That's a good point that I had not thought of. Yeah, maybe whatever percentage you said, like 80, 75, like maybe the flora makes up. No, that doesn't make any sense. I got halfway through that and I was like, no. Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird to emphasize that over the struggle and the rising above with the eagle and the mineral wealth and the people and all that. Like I won't say no other. Actually, no other flags do this. Not this exact thing. It is unique in that sense. And I also just noticed that we skipped straight over 3-color flags because people generally like tricolors.
But like I said, there's tons of them. I mean, I already named some at the top of the show, so I won't try to name more, but the German flag, like I said, that's one right there. There's a tricolor just on another flag that makes it worse.
I mean, half the countries have as like the name of their flag in their native language, the tricolor, like in French and Italian, tons of those. They just call it the tricolor. So yeah, tricolors, hugely popular. There is a reason that Doug and I went straight from bicolors to, I don't know, quad colors or whatever. And that's because most tricolor flags are pretty hard to mess up. Now, we may see an example or two of that, but in any case, you ready to move on from this one?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm scared.
I'm ready. Yeah, I've just got that like generally uneasy feeling. All right, so this one, I'm going to have you describe to the best of your ability.
Oh man, okay. So this flag is bisected horizontally. The top half is the Union Jack UK flag, except with a crown in the middle of it. And the bottom half reminds me of the flag of Argentina. It's got blue and white stripes, although these are wavy stripes going across. It looks like 3 blue stripes and 3.5 white stripes. And then overlaid on top of that is like the top 20% of a sun with alternating wavy and straight rays. Yeah, this looks like they had 2 different flags and couldn't decide, so they were like, you know what? Just glue them on top of each other.
Yeah, it's that's exactly how it reads to me. This is another one that's a nightmare. It doesn't make me like physically uneasy like the last one did, but well, actually, let me go ahead and say what it is. I know I always take a minute to get to that. This is the flag of British Columbia. So not a country. This is the first one that we are going to talk about. Not the only one that we're talking about tonight. that is a, province or regional county type flag. But it is the first, and it is terrible. And to your point of it being bisected, I don't even think that it is. Like, technically, like, it is bisected, but it's not like 50-50.
Yeah, I think the British part at the top, or the UK part, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to call it British because it's British Columbia, is, now that I look at it, it's not a third. Usually you can talk in like thirds and quarters. This is, I don't know, 55% on the bottom and whatever the remainder is on the top. I mean,
yeah. That's the wild thing to me, is it seems like it's like, from top to bottom, like 40-60 or like 45-55, which is like, what are we doing here at that point? Yeah, British Columbia, it's exactly as Doug described. The top 40+% is just the Union Jack, but stretched out like it looks like it is, I don't know, just wanting the sweet release of death or something. And they got like a little clip art crown to put in the middle of it. Like just a little, like it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's the crown that you drew as a kid when you had to like draw a king or what. I don't know how often that came up in class, but you just draw like, yep, there are points. That's a crown. Oh, you wanted jewels? Okay, here's a square one and a circle one. All right, done. And then the bottom whatever percent is, like Doug said, so yeah, there's blue wavy lines and alternating with white wavy lines. And then for some reason, at the bottom of that is a sun, which the sun, okay, I get that it's a sun, but it looks like it's coming up from the waves. It looks like a sea monster to me.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like the sun rising over the ocean, except the sun is in front of the ocean, so...
Yeah, or in the ocean.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
It's supposed to, I'll say, what it's supposed, for those, that really want to learn from this, it is supposed to represent the sun never setting on the British Empire, but also like British Columbia is the furthest west part of Canada. And so it is where the sun sets on the British Empire, even though it never does. It never does, and it never would. But it's supposed to represent that. And the alternating white and blue lines are the Pacific Ocean and the Rocky Mountains. Which, would you get mountains from those alternatingly white lines?
Not in the slightest.
Not even, yeah. Not a little bit. It just looks like, when waves come in and they have like the white,
Seafoam.
Seafoam, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, supposed to be mountains and waves. And then the fact that it's British Columbia, they put the British flag on top, which I'm not a huge fan of the flags that have like the Union Jack like up in the canton or whatever, but it's better than this. It's better than stretching it to Kingdom Come and then throwing a crown on it and putting a sea monster attacking it. That's pretty much the only symbolism as far as that goes. But let me show you something funny that I found while looking this up. Is their license plates. The license plates in British Columbia do not agree on how the flag should be drawn.
See that?
Can you see that at all?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's crude because it's tiny,
Mm-hmm.
but arguably better than the flag that they have. I mean, not even arguable.
Actually, that
take
is
that.
way better.
That's your flag. I would prefer that. That's just the top half is the top half of the Union Jack, and then overlaid over the top half is the sun, and then
so they lose the crown. Yeah.
So they lose the crown. They've got the sun, and then the bottom is just basically two blue wavy lines with a small thin white stripe going through the middle, which again, that to me looks more like, okay, to your point, the sun never setting on the British Empire. It's like, hey, look, here's the waves, the sun setting behind the waves, and guess what? British Empire's behind that. The sun's not setting there. I mean, take that flag. Whoever works for the, British Columbia Department of Transportation should be in charge of their flag design.
Honestly, yeah. I love that whoever designed this either didn't know exactly what it looked like, but had vague ideas from their youth or whatever, or they were like, you know what? I'm gonna do that, but better. Low key. Well, not even low key. It's going to be on every fucking license plate in British Columbia, but yeah. I agree with you. Let whoever did this design your flag. Maybe let them design a few other Canadian flags, because y'all are not, other than the flag of Canada itself, y'all are not great at this. And I, as an American, I can't really say that either, because a lot of our state flags are terrible. The state that Doug and I live in is great, flag-wise. Flag-wise, that's about it. But I don't know. I don't know about this one. Anyway, it struck me because most of the ones that I was looking at were national flags, country flags. I was kind of racking my brain for the worst flags just in general, especially since you mentioned it on Discord. And but I was also, in addition to racking my brain, obviously I was Googling this, researching it like crazy. And this one came up a lot. And I was like, well,
see why.
Yeah, I was like, well, I was planning on doing mostly national ones for this, mostly national ones for this, but I can't leave this one out. It's a crime. Anyway, we will move on to one that you may be a little bit more familiar with based on your history.
Yes, so I do know this flag.
You can go ahead and say it if you want.
This is the flag of Belize.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, it is not a great flag. So it is, I'm going to take a stab and say 80% in the middle is blue with red stripes covering maybe 10% at the top and bottom. And then large in the center, there is a, what do you call that? The seal of the country, which is just not great. So it's a white circle. Surrounding it are, I'm going to guess it's supposed to be like laurels, but just some sort of green circle with crescents that are, I assume, represent leaves.
Yeah, don't count them. I'll go ahead and tell you there are 25.
Okay, 25 crescent leaves. A lot of them look like they were supposed to be centered and just weren't.
It's like when you run out of, sorry to cut you off, but it's like, you know, when you're like writing something and you realize you don't have enough room for all the letters and you're going to run out.
Oh, yeah.
Parts of this feel like they got to that point.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking at the one on the very bottom on the left side, and you can tell that there's like a spot where it's like, this is where the branch goes and the leaves come out, except then they forgot to center it so you can see the bottom leaf coming out from the top of the branch. And they're just like, screw it. Why would we make our seal nice? Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the seal has, in the middle, there is a shield that is divided in three. In the top half, there is it's not an axe, I want to say, and I know a little bit about this flag, so I know these are some sort of woodworking tools, but there's something that looks like an oar. And you go ahead. What is that other thing?
It's called, well, the one that looks like an oar is a paddle, and the other one is called a squaring axe.
Okay, so it is an axe. On the right top side, there is a regular, I guess, wood-cutting axe and a saw. In the bottom, there is a ship, an old-timey ship. I'm going to call it I don't remember ship names. A Cavalier. Let's go with that.
Sure.
I think that's a ship. On the ocean. On both sides of the shield, there are two poorly drawn better than I could draw, but worse than most people could draw, men, shirtless, wearing white pants.
Hell yeah.
One with an axe over his shoulder and one with a paddle over his shoulder. One of them is black and the other one is dark-skinned, I guess what you would expect in a Latin American country. In the background, there's a tree. They're standing on some grass. And then on the bottom, there is a nice little ribbon that says Sub Umbra Florio, or which is Latin, of course, for under the shade we flourish.
Oh, look at you coming in with the Latin.
See,
Nice. What?
You're in my wheelhouse now. Latin American flags are the only flags that I know well.
Yeah. So, yeah, for the listeners who didn't fall asleep during that description, not by the fault of Doug, but just by the fact of, like, there is so much to describe in this. Yeah, it's what Doug said. I mean, it seems like they didn't know when to stop. It seems like they had somebody who was, like, telling somebody what to design, and they're like, okay, so throw the leaves around the, in a circle, and then we'll put like a tree in the middle. Okay, and actually, while you're at it, put a shield in front of the tree. And then while you're doing that, can you put like two guys, like one, he's labeled anyway as a mestizo, the one on the left, and the one on the right is Afro-Belizean, which I think you pretty much said. Like, yeah, if you could put like those guys on there, and then I know there's already a paddle and an axe on the shield, but have them carry them too. Like, we need another one. And then instead of them standing on nothing, because that's not realistic, how could they stand on nothing? Put some grass under there. And then, like, even kind of like shade it a little bit. And then, I don't know, put a motto under that. And then call it a day. It just seems like they literally did not know when to stop. I will show you some of the older, and you may have seen these, although you probably wouldn't have had a reason to, but that's the oldest that I just sent you, coat of arms of theirs.
That's better.
Which is basically just the shield part. It's not stylized as a shield, but it's better. The main difference being that it has a British flag, because it was British Honduras up in the like top left part, and all the tools are kind of forced to the top right part instead of them being in both. This is the next one that they had, which you can kind of see it evolving.
Okay, yeah, that's very similar to the new one. I mean, the new one is better than that, I guess, because it looks less clip arty.
Yeah, this one, the shading and shadows on this are weird. Then they went to this one that I just sent you, which is very similar to the current one, and then from there to the current one. So it seems like, and with each of these, nothing gets deleted, but more gets added. And it seems like they just did not know when to stop. That's the only excuse I can think of for coming up with this.
Yeah, especially between the last one you sent me and the most recent one. I mean, the only real additions, besides the tree being bigger, are they added the grass under their feet, which I don't really see the point. And then they added again, I'm going to keep calling them laurels around the outside.
Yeah, I don't know, wreath? I don't know if that's even the right word.
Yeah, which, okay, I mean, I guess I can see that because otherwise it's just like it's ambiguous where the sides are, so I guess they wanted to border it with something. They could have done a much better job of drawing it, but it seems like maybe they had an intern that summer and they were like, hey, we don't have anything else for you to do, just spruce this up a little bit.
Yeah, seems like. It was adopted in 1981. It's totally feasible. They just had some intern that didn't have anything better to do. They're like, yeah, go figure out the flag, figure out the coat of arms and the flag. I don't know. I don't have I know I keep saying this. I don't have a ton of notes on this one other than these dudes are yoked. So there's that.
Yeah.
Like the dude with the axe, I don't want to fuck with him, or the guy with the bum paddle.
I think it's the same guy, just with different hair and different skin color. Maybe they're a little different, but... So, I mean, I can add a little bit to this just because I actually do know a little bit about what this flag represents.
I was hoping you could.
Having lived down there and just interest in, actually because of this podcast, researching flags that I already knew about. So, I mean, a large part of it, as you probably gathered, goes to their wood cutting, wood being a big export of the country. That's why pretty much everything in the symbolism, the tree, the tools, the guys holding the tools, everything like that, all cover, it talks about how they deal with wood, or they export wood, I should say. So, maybe I could say arguably better than the, two flags before that we talked about, which they just said, hey, screw it, let's make it all green. Like, okay, they made their coat of arms like that. The two different people, which interestingly enough, I don't know. I'm hoping you're going to put all of these coat of arms in the show notes so people can see them. But
I will.
The first one after the one, or I guess the second coat of arms that you showed, both of the guys were black. They switched that to the mestizo guy and the, what did you call it, Afro-Belizean.
That's what it's officially termed as. Yeah.
Yeah. To represent the peoples in the country, where their origins were. I assume the Afro-Belizeans were slaves or former slaves that either moved there or lived there and stayed there, and then the others being the native peoples of the land who sort of adopted it. The national motto at the bottom, okay, that, I can deal with that. I mean, to me, the thing with this flag is, and I'll say my opinion is definitely countered by a lot of people that study flags. I don't mind so much having the national coat of arms on the flag. I think that the biggest issue is that their national coat of arms isn't great. They could have done a better job in designing that. You don't really need the, super stylized people, and you could probably tone down the wood cutting tools a little bit. You get the symbolism with the tree and stuff. It just they took the wood cutting theme and were just like, screw it, let's run with it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Do we have enough? No, we need more leaves, more trees.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to put it that I hadn't exactly thought of either. Is, yeah, I don't know that I necessarily mind a coat of arms on a flag if it's way less busy than this. But this to me is just way too busy. A couple stats about this one. Speaking of busy, it has 12 different colors on it, and a general rule of flag design is that you don't want to have more than 3. Now, people really like South Africa's flag, and it has, I think, 5 or 6. So you can get away with it. It's all about how you do it. But 12 is the most in the world, and I don't know if they quite do it well. And the only other note that I had that we haven't covered is that it is the only country with humans as a main design feature. So there are like state flags, like I think Virginia and a few other ones, Massachusetts, a few other ones, that have like humans, like, they're usually like Roman gods and goddesses and things like that instead of like this one. But it's the only national or country flag that has that as a major element. And yeah, no, I don't think, like you said, I think it's cool that they have the Mestizo and the Afro-Belizeans on there. I think it's cool that they have them represented, but I think it's easier to represent them with different design elements than it is just drawing them. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, take colors, use a little bit more symbolism. It's. I said this about a flag before, but a little too on the nose here.
It's like a show don't tell type thing,
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get to the ones that I know you yourself personally really want to get to.
Oh no.
I am gonna have you. Yeah, it's that time. You know what time it is.
Yeah.
So, well, shit. You know what to do.
This is one of my favorites. Maybe my favorite ugly, terrible, terrible flag. Okay, so in the canton of this flag, you have the flag of Liberia, and then the rest of the flag is best described as a paint drawing of a green field, and I don't mean that in the flag sense, like literally a green field, with a weirdly drawn paint tree that they tried to give some sort of leaf contrast on and made it worse, with a river sprouting out of its roots spontaneously, a poorly drawn sunset in the background where none of the rays match up at all. Instead of copying and pasting one ray, they just decided to make each of them individually sized terrible triangles. And then for some odd reason, 2 more terribly drawn trees floating in the sky in the background.
Yeah, and I know you know what this flag is. Do you remember the county or the...
I don't remember the county name, but I know it's one of the counties which are the equivalent of states.
In Liberia, as you said. Yeah. This is the River Gee. I think it's Gee. It might be G. It's in any case, it's Gee County in Liberia. And I had actually like a bit of an internal struggle kind of including these Liberian county flags, which listeners should absolutely look up and make up their own minds on. But because I read this, I don't know, paper, I guess, articles, maybe not quite the right word, but this paper on these flags, because there are a few of them. There are, 15 it looks like? And the paper argues that I am viewing this from a Western eye, which I absolutely am. I can't argue that. But that I'm viewing this from a Western eye with Western historical, things like the way that our flags normally look, or, design elements that are typical to Western flags, and most of the Western world is what standardized flags. And the paper argues that this comes from a rich quilt making culture that has flourished in Liberia for a long time. And I think that a lot of these things can be true at the same time. Because I read this it's 34 pages. Not too long, I'm not saying I was straining myself too much, but I went through the whole thing because I legitimately wanted to see what they had to say. And I think I actually disagree with their outcome on this. And here's why. And sorry, Doug, I know I've been talking for a second, but the reasons that I disagree, and this is called Liberian County Flags in Historical and Cultural Context by Stephen A. Knowlton, and I'll link it in the show notes as well. But there are actually a couple decent flags that come out of this. There are a couple, 2 or 3 fairly decent flags in the Liberian County, group collection here. So for this one, and a couple others, to be so uniquely bad, I don't think is necessarily a matter of just Western eyes on it. Because if I show you one like this, Doug, like, that's not great. It's not terrible either, in my opinion. It's just to give the listener, you want to tell the listener what that one looks like?
Sure. So it's got the flag of Liberia in the canton, a little bit smaller, but it's a trend. All of the county flags of Liberia have that. It's a design choice that I'm assuming the country made, but all of them have that. And then the rest of it is similar to the Nordic crosses that you said. It's a white field with a green, maybe a forest or Kelly green cross centered in the flag. I mean, it definitely...
It's not exciting.
No, but I mean, okay, so I'll first play devil's advocate a little bit because I think that you like this flag because it is more traditionally Western, because it looks like the Nordic flags that you know of, right? I mean, you can't argue that. You could, if you change those colors
that's
to
absolutely
blue and yellow, I'd say, okay, that's Sweden. But, so I get the quilting aspect of it, but no, I mean, I have to agree with you too. I mean, just going back to the first one of Guy, and I don't know if you were going to show this one, so you might not have it handy, but my biggest argument on that one is, even if you look into the history of that flag, they had a flag before that design-wise looked very similar, except I don't think anyone could argue that it was a better-looking flag. The trees weren't in the sky. They didn't try to do those weird color contrasts. Like, yeah, it looked like it was designed in paint, and I did send it to you as, hey, I think this is the worst flag, but, you know, it looks better than what they have now, and from a, you know, even from a quilting perspective, like, if I was going to design a quilt, I don't think I would have all these weird angles on everything. You know, you can make it look a little bit more flowy, and certainly, like you said, there's plenty of pictures from states that are atrocious, you know, or city flags that are just god-awful.
City flags are the worst, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just seems like you can get this same idea of, okay, we're going to draw a picture on our flag, and yeah, from a westernized design point, it's not great, but if you're going to draw a picture on the flag, at least make the picture look pleasant to the eye, like, make it okay. Yeah. I know you linked a couple other here. I don't know if you want me to...
Well, I the only reason I linked those to you was because you're absolutely right that first one that I sent you, like, that goes against, or kind of goes to my point of what I was saying about having a Western eye. That first one, yeah, absolutely looks... You're right about the reason that I like it being that it looks more traditionally Western, I think. Mm-hmm. But these next two that I sent you, I just wanted to send you to say, I like these as well, and they are not traditionally Western in any...
No.
The bottom one a little more, but not the middle one, I don't think. And I like them. I don't love them, but I think they're infinitely better than Floating Trees and Miracle River.
They're both definitely better than the British Columbian flag, which is a Western state flag, so on the same level as these.
Infinitely better than that.
So these flags, for the listener, are going to be a little harder to describe, but one is, like I said, the canton, just, that's the same. The right and left are the flag... The fly and hoist side edges are both a thin stripe of green, then a thin stripe of yellow, then a thin stripe of white, then green, then yellow, then in the center, maybe call it 60%, is all white with a, again, crudely drawn, but if you're going for the quilting aspect, it would have to be crudely drawn tree. stylized, sitting on a patch of land or something like that. The one on the bottom is, top quarter is blue, white in the middle, bottom quarter is blue. A very similar tree in the white portion of the flag, sort of off to the left, and a, decently appealing looking setting sun. It looks like it's setting over the blue portion on sort of the right half of the white horizontal stripe in the center. And yeah, I agree. Both of those, while you could look at them and say, yeah, these are not the greatest flags in the world by any stretch, they are definitely better than the flag of Guy, which, they were trying for something and didn't hit the mark.
It's really bad. And I don't mind that these come from a quilting tradition. Like, that's actually a pretty cool aspect of them. But even within this paper that I've been reading, or that I read, they show examples of Liberian quilting tradition, and they're all gorgeous. Like, they're all really beautiful designs. Like, there's one, here, I'll just really quick share my screen with you, or my screenshot it to you. But like, that bottom left one right there,
oh yeah,
that would go really well on a flag. Even that middle one right there.
Even the bottom right one, you could put it on a flag. It's compared to these, the bottom right one, which looks like a sort of picture of a bunch of people. I can't see the picture very well, but I don't know if they're hunting or riding a crocodile or something, and there's a house and some birds in the top. But to the point, like, even that looks nicer than the Guy flag. Like, and going back to that, I'm trying to picture, like, okay, if I'm making a quilt, which, to be completely fair to them, I've never made a quilt, but I imagine that any of the things that you've shown me would be easier to make than all the weird intricacies that they put in this tree shading on the Guy flag.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I want to look up more of their quilting tradition, because this stuff is awesome, and there's a whole lot tied into Liberia. We don't even nearly have the time to go into that. If you do want to know more about Liberia generally, there was a couple good episodes that Behind the Bastards did, another podcast on the Liberian Civil War, that doesn't necessarily talk about these flags, but will kind of explain a little bit of the cultural heritage and what was going on in Liberia throughout really its whole history. It's relatively short history. But I don't know. I feel safe enough clowning on these flags because I've seen what they can do with quilts, and they can do way better than River Guy County. And I guess that's my large point that I took way too long to make, and I'm sure I seemed a little defensive or whatever. But I'd seen a lot of talk online about how these flags were awful, and then I read this paper that was like, hey, you're viewing it through Western eyes, and I was like, all right, that merits looking into and everything. And I think I just disagree with the paper's outcome, and I don't know. I feel safe clowning on the ones that are sillier, because like I said, there are a few that are awesome. This one you and I discussed, for example, we don't have to describe the whole thing and all that, but like,
yeah,
you and I talked about, this one is the flag of Nimba County in Liberia, and it's the same thing, like Doug said, Liberian flag up in the canton, and then this design that I don't even know if I could describe to you in the middle. It's an ent, or
it looks like it was, again, it looks like they were trying to draw a tree, but I hope if you're making a quilt, you can at least tell that it's a tree.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue most of this design, so, I'll just give a very quick, very, very quick. So it's, the flag red at the top, white in the middle, blue in the center, or blue at the bottom. In the center is a circle with an emblem with what looks like part of a mountain, and then green for the, fields or whatever. The background is a blue sky. And then this thing in the middle that I assume is supposed to be some sort of tree, very poorly designed, with one of its, I don't know if it's supposed to be a branch or just an arbitrary patch of land in the sky with a sun setting behind it. It's unclear to me if it's a branch, why the bottom of the sun is not below the branch, and if it's land, why it's floating in the sky. But again, it's just like weird design choices. Like, yeah, you could make this tree, you could take this exact idea, make a tree look a little bit more like a tree, put the sun somewhere logical, And I would say, hey, it's a nice drawing. Again, it's a lot of people would say it's not their favorite flag, but when you say, okay, this is our seal or our emblem in the middle of a flag, I mean, and I won't talk about this flag right now, but one of my favorite flags in the world is because they have the national seal in the middle, and I think the national seal is awesome. So I like a lot of flags that have seals on them, but this seal just needs work.
Yeah, it really does. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it because we probably need to get moving on. But for the listener, all these Liberian county flags are worth looking up. We haven't even gone over. There's at least 3 more that are just patently ridiculous. There's like the arm reaching across the river to grab the post or pole on the other side. There's, I don't know, various other. Actually, that might be the only other silly one that we haven't gone. No, there's a lighthouse that's like also a speaker that's yelling at a palm tree. That's Maryland County, named after Maryland here in the U.S. As far as like terrible flags, I'm pretty comfortable saying that these are terrible flags from a purely design standpoint. And as far as the listener, like, these are not even ones that, like, I know flags on a podcast is weird in the first place, but go look these up because there's no way I can do these justice. So on that note, unless you have anything else on the Liberian ones, we'll move on to, I think we got one more.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably talk for 2 more hours about how much I hate the flag of Guy, but I won't bore the listeners by saying the same things over and over, so we'll move on.
Yeah, look up the River Guy one, though. The floating trees and Magic River are really something else. All right, this last one that I'm going to send you, I think it's probably going to send it in Discord as a vector. So, yeah, okay, there we go.
Okay.
So, God, I don't know. Do your worst.
Oh, man. You're really sticking it to me here. Okay.
Yeah, that's why this is the last one, man.
Well, I'm going to start by saying I know what this is. This is the flag of the city of Tampa, Florida.
And how do you know that?
And I know that because, well, I would say it's in the center, but it's not. It's maybe in the middle of the flag on a third of the way in from the hoist side. There is what I'm going to assume is the seal of the city of Florida, or city of Tampa, which says City of Tampa, Florida at the top, has some sort of steam sailboat in the middle, the word mascote.
I think it's mascot. I think that's the county.
Okay, mascot, but not spelled like
I don't know how
the
it's
word
pronounced.
Mascot.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, organized July 15th, 1887, so you know exactly when it started. This flag is not rectangular at all, and in fact, I don't even know if it's a design choice.
Dude,
are the top and bottom angled on purpose, or is that just a picture?
Yeah. No, it's not the picture. You're seeing it correctly.
Okay, so
in the sense that anyone can ever actually see this correctly.
Okay, so anyone who I apologize again. This is going to take 5 minutes, so you could fast forward a couple minutes and then just look it up because this description is going to be horrible. But on the hoist side, you have a red stripe, then a white stripe, then a blue stripe horizontally with stars going down it. I'm not going to count them. And then going across from the middle of that blue stripe is a thicker blue stripe that goes horizontally across the flag, which is cut off by several other design elements. The top and the bottom, like I said, are angled in on this flag, with the right side having some weird zigzag shape. Then about a third of the way in, over where the seal is, there is a yellow stripe, then to the right and left of that, a red stripe, then a thinner yellow stripe to the right and left of that, and then a very thin, much brighter yellow stripe on either side of that. The background of all of this is white. Then there's some diagonal red lines shooting off towards the fly side, 2 red lines with white in between. And then on the fly side, on that zigzag pattern, there's some sort of weird green design.
It looks like a stealth bomber.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks kind of like a stealth bomber with red tipped wings and red at the back, where the corner parts are. are all red squares, and then in the middle of it is a red square or red diamond, or sorry, a blue diamond with a white star in the middle of it. So if you're confused, I'm as confused and I've seen the picture, so just look at it. It is way too much.
I think that is the hardest I've ever made any guest on this show work. You definitely earned your appearance fee. I'll say that.
Yeah, I thought the Belize flag was a lot to describe, but
the Belize flag is all in the middle, and you can kind of just describe that. But this one is all over the place.
Yeah, it is just a mashup of stripes in every which way and stars and diagonals, and man, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure no one who listened to my description has any idea what this flag looks like.
Yeah, this isn't one you can picture in your head from like a verbal description, I think. Unlike Libya. But you see how we started with Libya and we got here somehow. Yeah, I'll do my best to at least lay out what the design elements are supposed to mean. So, Doug, you're looking at it, so you can kind of maybe see that the colors are supposed to be based on national flags. You have France there on the left.
Okay.
You have Great Britain, those ones that are going diagonally. That's supposed to look kind of Union Jacky.
It doesn't, but I guess I can see that.
You have the US, which is like kind of overlaps the French blue and like the blue, like, I don't know, T, the T laying down, for lack of a better, with the stars in the middle.
Yeah, that was the only part I figured out so far.
Yep, that's the US. Italy is the stealth bomber, the green, white, and red near the end.
Okay.
And then you can probably guess that the red and yellow is for Spain, which I'm not going to say is the only part you can guess, because like you said, the stars and the on the
I
blue
would not
stripe,
have guessed that. The only part I guessed was the US, but
yeah, fair enough.
I just thought someone had a seizure while designing a flag.
Yeah, do you want to know who had a seizure while designing this flag?
I would love to know.
This was designed by an accountant in the city of Tampa in 1930. So
he should not quit his day job.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to because you just.
I think that stumbling really describes the flag perfectly.
I mean, this seems like something that an accountant or someone in a very, I don't know, that side of the brain field would come up with. It's needlessly complicated. It has the seal. You can fault it for that. But you can't fault it too much for that, because a lot of state flags even have the seal, so sure.
The seal is the nicest part of the flag.
The seal actually is the nicest part of the flag. The shape is baffling to me, because like if I'm an accountant and I'm coming up, like I've been tasked with coming up with a flag for my city, I'm going to just pick a rectangle and I'm going to be like, all right, what are like maybe 3 things? But he took a rectangle and was like, all right, give me the scissors. I got an idea. And it's bad. Like, yeah, you can't even, I don't even know how to describe the shape to a listener. Like, yes, it tapers in from the hoist to the fly, but not all the way. And then it cuts like almost like Ohio, but at a less severe angle. And then it realizes that it's not got much room left, and it cuts pretty sharply toward the middle, but then back out, but then back in again. Or I don't know if I'm using out and in right. I don't know what up and down are anymore after looking at this fucking flag, but like it's 3 little tips on the end that make up the stealth bomber from Italy.
It's like if
What do you got?
It's like if the Washington Monument, like an airplane crashed into the very tip of the Washington Monument and cracked it off, and then the monument fell on its side, and someone was like, sweet, get some paint, slap some color on that bitch, we got a flag.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can absolutely see that. But cut it off like about halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other design things that are supposedly on it are there's a stylized H, which I think is the Spanish part and the French/US part on the hoist side-ish. That is for Hillsborough County. So yeah, I don't know what mascot is. And then the T that's laying sideways is for Tampa.
Okay, I could see that.
Sure.
Then there's also, I mean, if you're going with that, then there's a random K.
There's a K.
With the UK flag red stripes, which I guess means nothing if your research didn't show it. So, and a stealth bomber, which is probably what crashed into the top of the Washington Monument. So.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So there you got that. Okay, we're getting to something now.
Yeah. We'll suss this one out eventually. Stay tuned for part 9 of this. Yeah, the HK just makes me want to play KOTOR for one thing, but yeah, I didn't see the K, or I should say I didn't see anything on the K or an intentional K anyway. Other than, yeah, they're just angled because of Britain. And I really don't know what else to say other than this flag routinely wins, internet competitions mostly, not official big things, but like on the ugliest city flags on Earth, the ugliest flags on Earth, the ugliest, you name it, symbol of anything ever on Earth.
Yeah,
I can't think of a worse one. I thought British Columbia was bad. I think I prefer any county flag of Liberia to this.
Yeah, I was going to say, for anyone on Discord, you might have seen this, but I intentionally designed a terrible flag for the podcast because you'd been asking for flag designs. I mean, that was supposed to be a bad flag. I knew it was. It was funny to me.
And?
This flag is... all of the rest of these flags, I could say, okay, they're better than my flag, but I tried to make it bad. This flag is worse. Like, someone looked at this and said, yes, we're going to take it, and it is, without question, worse than the flag I designed, because I wouldn't have even thought, hey, let's just keep, you got a couple colors, let's just keep slapping lines on there. You don't have enough lines. Hey, my biggest critique, you don't have enough lines. Like, I don't even understand. Maybe it's just the picture, but why are there yellow lines that are fembreated by lighter yellow lines on the outside? Like, what is the point of two-tone yellow? I don't know if you blew it up and could see that, but like...
Holy shit, I just saw that.
It's like you took the Spanish flag part and then highlighted it.
What? How did I not see that? I had it blown up earlier on my screen and I still didn't see that. Yeah, that is baffling. That is yeah. I'm so glad you pointed out the light yellow fembreation on yellow and white, which listeners may know light yellow as a combination between yellow and white. So to use it to fembreate something is like mind-blowing.
Yeah. I mean, I know it said, I said it looks like it's highlighted, but it's highlighter yellow.
It literally is highlighter yellow, yeah. Yeah. Hold on, I got a highlighter. I don't know where it is. I think I've been using it recently and moved it. But I'm pretty sure if I held it up, it would be exactly the same.
I think it's behind you in a pen cup right to your right.
What do you know? You can see that?
I could see that.
Yep, sure enough. This is really great for a podcast. This visual display of me holding up a highlighter. Yep, same yellow. I almost drew on my screen too, so that's cool. Could have left the lid on, chose not to. Excellent move.
The only thing I could think is that F. Grant Whitney's name is Grant Whitney, but they added the F because everyone who saw this flag was like, fuck Grant Whitney, but they couldn't say that, they're like, oh, abbreviate it, we can't write that officially.
Yeah, just have FGW on this. I did just look up where mascot or mascote is from. It is the name of the ship that's on that seal, which was Henry Plant, the King of Florida, his ship. I'm not even going to look that up. The listeners can look that up if they want to. We've gone on long enough. I think I'm done. This flag makes me want to be done if I weren't already, short on time.
You can't. If there's a worse flag than this, I don't want to see it right now. We'll need to set that up in part 2.
Yeah, and there probably will be a part 2 of worse flags. I'll probably invite you on for that one too, but
I got a headache describing that one already.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I need an ibuprofen or something. All right. Anyway, listeners, be sure to check out the show notes as usual. Obviously, it's a pretty visual podcast. I will try and at a certain point get a little better of a YouTube situation set up. It probably won't be video of the two of us recording, but it will be at least kind of the flags as we're talking about them. So as I said up top, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I guess I've seamlessly moved into plugs here without even noticing it. But Doug, do you have anything that may not even be, your own or whatever that you would like to plug or get some eyes and ears on? Or
Yeah, I don't have anything personal that I'm a part of, so I don't have anything like that to plug. But I'll plug a couple of charities or causes I think that people should contribute to. So the first one I would say is, as you know, Andrew or Andy, I'm a big dog lover, and I will advocate for anyone who can to support their local animal shelters and adopt animals if you can. I've had pure breeds, I've had adopted dogs, and no offense to my dogs when I was younger, but my, mutts have been some of the best dogs I ever own. I love them. So do that. The other one is an organization that is near and dear to my heart. It is an organization called Return to Zero, and it is an organization that supports people who are going through miscarriage, stillbirth, and infant death. They do a lot of therapy and have a lot of support and resources for people like that. Not going to get into my own history, but it's an organization that I like very much and will continue to support for a long time, and I advocate anyone who could to support that or other similar organizations. I know there's a few of them. Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep is another one that I know of that I also really enjoy, but yeah, that's what I got.
awesome. Yeah, guys, go out, look those up, support them in any way you can, even if it's not monetarily. There's a lot of good that you can do, even if you're, a little bit harder up right now, like a lot of us are. So yeah, definitely go look those up and do what you can there. I don't have too much to plug other than the things that I already plugged at the top, and just to say, you can find most of our information at flagged.rocks. That's FLAGGED.ROCKS. All of our social links are there. My personal social's there. It's Darth Plato if you don't know it. The show is at flagged, the number 4 content everywhere. There is a link on there for one of our podcasts that's not technically affiliated with this, but is a kindred spirit kind of podcast. And their host has had some medical bills come up and is having to deal with the nightmare that is the American medical system right now, and could use some help. I've got that as the top link on flagged.rock. So go check that out. Give what you can, like I said. And yeah, and go check out all of our stuff. Follow us. Sign up for the Patreon. Like I said, it's $2 a month. It's $1 an episode. I'm not really trying to make anything off it. And I think that is it. And Doug, I think you said you had a pretty good sign-off idea.
I did. So we'll just end this with, like a flag on a pole, this is us waving goodbye.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
It's in the running.